Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode with your girl Audrey Codner from ACG Math Tutoring. Hopefully you guys are doing well this evening or midday, depending on where you're at. Right now, we're just trying to get ourselves situated. So if you are trying to get your GED, trying to get the ASVAB score up and ready to roll, or maybe you're even trying to do the TEAS test or any of the nursing programs tests, especially for the entry exams, maybe even Praxis, that if you're trying to get your teacher's degree and you just need to get all these basic concepts down, well, this is the live for you. I know, it's like so many things going on at the same time. So as you guys are coming on in, go ahead and tap away. So today's concept is midpoint and distance formula. Okay, so we are basically learning how to find our midpoint and how to measure the distance. When they give you especially two coordinate points, how do you measure the distance? How far it is? We're not doing a comparison. We're actually looking at how far is from point A to point B. So there we go. So if anything, you can go ahead and start copying down a little bit of the notes before we get into some examples. And while we're waiting, go ahead and just start tapping. So Miss Rich, welcome in. Barbara, welcome in. All right, everyone, glad that you are here. So we have 18 that's on the docket right now, and we're going to get ourselves started momentarily. So as some of you guys may or may not know, I am having a mini sale. So the sale is basically I'm selling all of my notebooks. So that's including Audrey's notes. All of my books are on sale for $10.29. So that is $10.29. So you can get access to all these lovely notebooks that I've been using on my lives. So here's a couple of examples while we get everybody up. So I'm taking all of my notes, putting in here, get a section where you can put your formulas, a section where you can put your steps. So this is just another way to help organize your thoughts, get everything down. But not only that, we also have our reviews. We have a lot of those questions, a lot of those rules that we have a tendency to forget about. So all of those are in the back of the book. Remember Bob, we used to say back in the day? So fractions, operations, looking at different arithmetic and geometric sequences, system of equations, but we cannot forget about the belle of the ball, which is my factor sheet. So if you don't understand your multiplication tables, which it happens, okay, and you need to figure out your factors in order to do factoring or to break down radicals or to figure out your lowest common multiple or your greatest common factors, this is also in the back of my book. So it goes from 1 to 200. So this of many will be on sale just for the month of September, okay, for $10.29. All right, good. Shameless plug. That's over in there. Hello, Angela. How are you? Okay, so let's get started. Midpoint. So we're trying to figure out the halfway point between 2 points on a segment. So if you were given, let me see if I can get on this. So if we were given like 2 points, so we have -4 and 4, and we have 5, -1. And we want to find the halfway point, okay, between those 2 points. So the way that we do it is what we have right off here. We're going to take the sum of the x's, divide by 2, then take the sum of the y's and divide by 2. This is probably one of the simplest things. So the key part is, do you know what your x and your y looks like? So for my first point, this is my x1, this is my y1. For my second coordinates, this is my x, second x, and this is my second y. Okay, so we can go ahead and add those two up. So in order to find our x's, we got -4 plus 5, and we're going to divide by 2. Okay, and this is for us to find the x for the midpoint. So -4 plus 5, that gives me 1. 1 over 2. Okay, now I want to find my y's. So I have my y, find the midpoint. So I got my y1, which is 4, plus -1, divide by 2. So now I have 4 plus -1, that gives me 3. And I put it over 2. Now some people might ask, hey Audrey, can I put them as decimals? Can I put it as like 0.5 and 1.5? Sure. Okay, as long as you have the right signage, yeah, you can do that. All right. So the coordinates for my midpoint, I'm going to put here, is my 1/2 and my 3/2. That's it. That's your midpoint. Okay, can we get a sigh of relief? Everybody's like, oh, thank God. All right, so let's go with another one. So we have, we'll go with this one. -1, -6, -6, and 5. I know I usually have a little bit of music playing in the background, but I just needed some peace. It's been one of those days. I just needed a little bit of peace. Okay. Okay. 11 mistaken. Can't believe we came across this. Welcome in. All right. So if we want to label, this is going to be your x1. This is your y1. This is your x2. This is your y2. Why are these call? Cindy, I'm trying to understand. Why are these call? It's been so long. All right. So if you think you have it, go ahead and put it in the chat or the comments. If you think you have it, go ahead and put it in. And remember, this is going to be a free session. So don't worry, it's not going to cut off in a minute. People are like, oh, okay. Are you trying to say, what are these called? This is finding the midpoint. So we're trying to find the midpoint between these 2 points without graphing them. So if we take a look, we got our x. We're trying to figure out our x value. So we're going to take that -1 for the first coordinate plus the -6 for that second, okay, the x in the second coordinate, and we're going to divide by 2. So now you got -1 plus -6. That gives you negative 7 halves. Okay. All right. Midpoint and distance formula. So now we're going to try to find our y's. We're trying to find the midpoint of our y's. I really should say mid instead of m. So we're taking the sum of our y's. So we have negative 6 plus 5. And we're going to divide it by 2. Okay, so all we're doing is taking the sum of our x's, divide by 2. Then take the sum of our y's and divide by 2. So negative 6 plus 5, that gives me a negative 1 over 2. Okay, I know that this is an improper fraction. It's fine. Because if I want to get my midpoint, we have our negative 7 halves, comma, negative 1 half. So this is going to be the midpoint, the coordinates of the midpoint in between these 2 points. Okay. There you go, Justin. So we're always going to add them, yep, and divide by 2. The only time, yep, because it's not like we can change the sign because it's not subtraction, it's just addition. That's okay. Where did I get the 2? That's part of the formula. You always take half, because if you're trying to find the midpoint or the mid of something, you're usually cutting it in half. So you're usually dividing by 2. Okay. So series 2. We are last in this part, but I still need to learn this new chapter. Okay. Well, go ahead and message me, because I do have tutoring sessions. All right. Okay, let's try one more like this, since people are just coming on in there. And then I'm going to do a quick little switch. So 5, 2, okay, I have that one. So 5, comma 2. Negative 4, comma negative 3. Okay, so this is your first point that you're seeing, so that's your first x and first y. This is the second point that you're seeing, that's your second x and second y. Okay, find my midpoint. How do you graph a fraction? That's your slope, rise over run. If it's a coordinate plane, rise over run. Oh, this is small. Usually on the weekends, it's been growing a lot lately. Sometimes on the weekends, it'll be, at one point, Saturday, I think it was, I had almost 2,000 people in the live. It's crazy. I know, all for math, right? No, she's one of my former students. She's one of my former students. One of my babies. Being all successful and stuff. Yeah, she's not being a smart aleck. She's not one of the trolls. Okay. Square root. You all right? Okay, Cindy, I got you. There we go. Yes. Okay, Katie. But see, here's the thing, Katie, just taking it one step at a time. Lucinda, how are you? All right, so now let's take a look. We're trying to find the x and the y value of our midpoint. So in order for me to do this, I need the sum of my x's. So I have my 5 plus -4. You're always adding them. And it's always going to be divided by 2 because you're trying to find the middle, hence the word midpoint. So 5 plus -4, that gives me 1. And it's going to be 1 over 2. Okay. Now we're trying to find our y value. And if you're wondering what's written right here, I'm just writing the word mid to remind me that I'm finding the midpoint. So now I want to take the sum of my y's. So I have 2 plus -3 divided by 2. So 2 plus -3, that gives me a -1 over 2. All right, well, thank you. Yep, it's always going to be adding all the time. It's always going to be adding and then divide by 2. All right, good. Loafing around. Love it. You do math with a pen. You know you're God's favorite. I don't know about God's favorite. Okay, well, welcome in. Right. All right, we'll be getting to it. Keep your panties on. Justin, jeez. All right, so all you're doing after you're done, you put your coordinates together. So you have your x's, which is 1/2, and your y's, -1/2. Okay, so that's going to be your midpoint. Okay, so I mean, that's the basics. But to know that you truly understand it, you got to learn to work in the reverse. And I'm going to tell you, especially those that are taking the ASVAB or taking the TEAS test or ACCUPLACER, and sometimes GED, depending on the test, will throw something like this at you. So what happens if they give us an endpoint and they give you the midpoint? So what we did before, these were the 2 endpoints. Okay, these were the 2 endpoints, and we had to find the midpoint. But what happens if they already give you an endpoint? So let's say that endpoint was -1 and 9. And let's say that the midpoint was -9 and -10. And we want to find what the other endpoint is. So let me put that in red, because this is what we're looking for. Okay. Yes, Cindy. So we always add, you're always add, but if the signs are different, you're going to be subtracting. Something easier? Well, Brian, don't be worried about something easier. Don't escape from your stuff. Stick with us. Come on. Got to break through. Got to get out that comfort zone. Okay? No one writes stories about people who are just sitting at home comfort. They write stories and they tell stories about the ones that are changing things. ones that are taking charge, ones that are taking actions. Those are the ones that we read the stories, we watch the movies, okay? We write about. Be that game changer. Come on, Brian. Hopefully you didn't leave. All right. So there's going to be a little bit of division. We're going to be working in reverse. So let's take a look. Let's say I want to find my x value. Look how we set it up here. Okay, we had our x value. So if we're trying to find the x, so x for the midpoint, we're going to have the x for 0.1, and we have the x for 0.2 divided by 2. Okay? This is why I kept writing this formula over and over again. So we know one of the points. So this will be my x1 and my y1. We know the x value for the midpoint. So the x value for the midpoint is -9. So we're going to replace x mid with the -9 because we know the midpoint's x value. We know the x value of one of our endpoints, which is a -1. So I'm going to put -1 plus. But what we don't know is the x value for the endpoint. So I'm going to put my x. And just like everything for us to find midpoint, we divide by 2. I'm going to pause here. And I will repeat. I just wanted to marinate in your brain a little bit. And then I'm going to repeat. Okay. Well, it depends on what you're doing, JVJR. Okay, it depends on what you're doing. Okay. So now, if we're trying to find this missing endpoint, we're just working on the x values. So I need the x value of the midpoint. That's where the -9 came from. I need an x value of one of the endpoints that we know. That's where the -1 came from. And then I need the x value of the endpoint that we don't know. Since we don't know it, we need something in its place. So we're going to use a variable x value of the endpoint that we don't know. Since we don't know it, we need something in its place. So we're going to use a variable x. It's a midpoint. Okay, midpoint, we're usually cutting things in half. So now we're solving this equation for x. What do you think is the first thing I should do? I'll even zoom in a little bit. What do you think is the first thing I should do? You could cross multiply. Okay. Multiply both sides by 2. Yes. Multiply by 2. 2 times 9. Yes. So this would be 2x, but possible. Okay. Divide by 2. Not divide by 2. The video is cutting off. Okay. I'm not sure what's happening. But that's what we're doing. We're actually going to multiply both sides by 2. The reason why we're doing that is because 2 divided by 2, that's going to give me my 1. Now I can get it out of that fraction. Okay? So now I have 2 times -9. That gives me -18. Then I'm going to bring down my equals, my -1, and my plus x. So now I want to solve for x. What do I need to do to get x on both sides? Okay. Okay. Why would I do that? What do I need to do? There you go. Hello, Miss Strawberry. Appreciate you being here. Okay, so we're going to add 1. I know we're so used to seeing x on the other side equal sign, but it doesn't matter if it's on the left side or on the right side. If I want to isolate my variable, I need to get rid of this constant. So I need to add 1 on both sides. -1 plus 1, that gives me 0. And I don't need to write the 0 because I still have that x that needs to come down. Okay, so I have something. So now, -18 plus 1, there you go, phone. There it is. Angela, good. Okay, Miss Strawberry, good. Good. Maggie, good. All right. So we have -17. What does this mean? That means when we go back to that missing endpoint, the x value of that missing endpoint is -17. Okay, so we got to work in reverse in order for us to figure out what is that missing endpoint. All right. Okay. So that was finding the x's. Now we're going to do the same exact thing. Let me lower this down a bit. And we're going to try to find the y's. So that means, let me get my highlighter, that we're going to focus on the y value of the endpoint that's given, the y value for the endpoint, for the midpoint, in order for us to figure out the y value of the missing endpoint. All right. So the missing x value for the endpoint, yes, is -17. So now we're going to do the same thing to find that missing endpoint for the y's. So if we got it all set up, I'm going to squeeze it on over here. So we have our y equals our y1 plus our y sub 2 divided by 2. So this y is the y of our midpoint. The y of our midpoint is -10. This is the y of the endpoint that they gave us. So the y of the endpoint that they gave us is 9. And this is the y of our missing endpoint. We don't know what it is because that's what we're looking for. So that's going to be my y. And it's always being divided by 2. Okay. So instead of you looking at this, let's focus on this. So that should cause a little less anxiety. So, in order for us to get rid of this fraction, we need to multiply both sides by 2. The reason why I'm using 2 is because I can do 2 divided by 2 and they can cancel out, and then I don't have to deal with a fraction anymore. Okay, now I can actually deal with 2 times -10, that gives me a -20, equals 9 plus y. Okay, we got rid of the 2, so we don't have a fraction anymore. Now it's just 9 plus y. So we want to get y by itself. What do we need to do? What do we need to do in order to get y by ourselves? Put that in the chat. What do we need to do? So Justin Z is saying -9. Vita sister is saying -9. Subtract 9. Okay, always do the opposite. So yes, Jocelyn, subtract 9. Subtract 9, Maggie. Subtract 9, Angela. Not divide by y. We're trying to solve for y. We're not going to add 9. Okay? It's always opposite what we see. Okay? LM saying subtract 9. Yes, there we go. So Caribbean Queen, good. Subtract 9. So we're going to subtract 9 on both sides of the equal sign. So we have 9 minus 9. That gives me 0. We don't have to put the 0 because we still have y on that side of the equal sign. And that's what we wanted. We want y to be by itself. Now, negative 20 minus 9. You owe me $20. For some sick and twisted reason, I loan you another $9. That means you owe me $29. So what you just found, because y equals, is the missing y coordinate for that other endpoint. So we were looking for the endpoint, and that's what you did. Okay. All right. Okay, how are we doing? Okay, let's do another one like that. Okay, so we got 263 people, right? Long way, but here's the thing, Joanne. I like to take it step by step, and after a while, you'll be able to just visualize it and do it. But right now, I like to take it step by step because some people are in here saying, I have never seen this before. Okay, so if we can do a mad tap to 10K, I would greatly appreciate that. Before I get to the next part, thank you for understanding, Joanne. I appreciate it, because I try to I don't want to say cater, because that just sounds like I'm providing a meal, which I am not. I usually like, for people that always struggle with math and they're finally taking the step to get their GED or any high school equivalency, or someone's finally take the step to improve their ASVAB score, or to take their SATs, or they just generally struggled in math. And or some people just come in here because it has nothing to deal with politics right now. It has nothing to deal with foolishness, cats, or any kind of like nonsense. It's just general, nice, easy. Let's face the challenge step by step. Okay? Not a problem, Barbie. Okay. All right. Almost there. Let's go, guys. Keep with the mad tap. There's 212 in here. Intro to pre-calc. Need to learn all this again. Okay. Not a problem, Miss Rich. Appreciate that. I've seen it explained step by step, but it's been so long. Yep. You know, it's been a minute for a lot of us. As I like to say, you know, you haven't seen this stuff since you were a fetus, and now I don't know what age group we're in, but you know, it's been a minute. But that's the one thing about math that I like. No matter what, 2 plus 2, 2 times 2, 2 squared, it all equals 4. 3 different ways, but you get the same answer. Okay? And once you follow the rules, and you know how to basically, you know, change numbers around from one form to the next, you'll be able to understand this. But it's also a life thing. You know, we all are not exactly the same. We all don't walk around wearing the exact same clothes, exact same combination each and every day. No, you have your own flair. You have your own style. Some are a little eccentric than others, but for the most part, that's basically what happens. Please, Chris, what? Can I repeat from the endpoint one more time? All right, I'll do it while everybody is tapping. We got to get to that 10K because that's how I'll get to the next point. All right, and then plus we're going to do the next one. So we're given an endpoint. we're given a midpoint, okay? So we're looking for the other endpoint. So the one way of doing it is just focus on the x's, then focus on the y's. So if you recall, the formula is your midpoint is equal to the sum of your x values divided by 2. So if I want to find the other endpoint, I need to add my x's, okay? Well, not add these because that's the midpoint. I need to add my x's and then divide by 2 to find the midpoint. So since we know what the midpoint is, midpoint's -9, so that's where this -9 came from. That's the x value of the midpoint. Then we need the x value of the first point, which is -1. And then we need the x value of the endpoint that we're looking for. We didn't know what that was, so we put an x there. Divide by 2. First thing, multiply both sides by 2. 2 times -9 gives you -18. Then we add 1 on both sides. So we got a -17 for the x for the endpoint. That's where this -17 came from. Then we did the same thing, but for the y's. So let me cover this up so you can focus. We're taking the y of the endpoint, the y of the midpoint. So the y of the midpoint comes out here. The y of the endpoint is 9. And the y of the other endpoint at that time, we didn't know what it was. So we put a y there. Divide by 2. Multiply both sides by 2 so we can get it out of this fraction. So now you have 2 times -10 gives me -20. Subtract the 9 on both sides. Okay, -20 minus 9 gives me -29. And that is the y value of the other endpoint. And that is how we do it. Okay. All right. I would love to do another point, but I need 10K. Get to tapping, guys. There's 261 of us here. This is the least that you have to do. Okay. Thank you. And thank you so much for the gifts, everyone. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. And TikTok greatly appreciates it too, since they take 53% of it. So, am I salty? Am I salty? Yes, I am. So if you guys want to check in, there should be an orange heart right next to my name. So if you want to go in there, let the algorithm know that you are a real person. And we are actually doing our due diligence of learning. And maybe if doing a little bit of tapping, think about it. Think about how you found me. You found me on your FYP. The reason why you found me on your FYP, maybe at one point in time, somewhere you saw you found me on your FYP. The reason why you found me on your FYP, maybe at one point in time, somewhere you saw a